8th of November 1966 when that happened. But what it was, we had made an air assault, and one day, and we'd set up a perimeter, and we got hit when we went in on the air assault. And the helicopters actually shot down the helicopter, killed the pilot. So we dug in that night, and then the next next morning, we got up and started to move, and there was 2 battalions. The 2nd of the 28th, which was our battalion, and the 1st of the 28th, which was our sister battalion. So we moved out first, and we moved out through. We went through the 1st of the 28th, and got to our next position, and they moved later on during the day. So we got there, and we dug our position in real good, dug foxholes, put our listening post out, put ambush patrols out everywhere around the battalion perimeter. And we've set up in an open area, partially open, and it had a road to it. Well, about daylight, I heard this firing start, and it was pretty close because I was on the side next to that other battalion, our sister battalion, and it just kept building, it building and building like a firework. And what they did is the NVA got in between us and the other, and then of course we moved. They moved the 1st of the 28th. What they did is the VEC got North Vietnamese, the enemy. They attacked them in between us and them, and when they did, the 1st of the 18th of the battalion, they moved all their machine guns and stuff trying to cover that side, which meant they were firing back towards us. And the 1st of the 28th was getting overrun. I mean, they'd done killed. There wasn't an officer left standing. I think one lieutenant out of that whole, but 400 or 500 people was all that was left. They were calling in artillery trying to get it in between the 2 battalions. And what they did, there's about 5 rounds fell short. And when it did, it fell into our perimeter right behind my platoon. And it hit one of these big old termite mounds. And when it did, it just spewed that metal towards us. And what I was doing, the company commander had called and said, we've got to go up there and try to break that up, or they're going to kill everybody up there in that battalion. So I've been over. I had my field gear already on, so I've been over. And when I've been over, that round went off in that termite hill out there, and it spewed that metal, and it killed 3 or 4 really injured. It killed a E7 Sergeant Bonnie that was over our weapons platoon in our company. Killed him and 2 or 3 more, and there was a Hispanic guy, sergeant, and it took his eyes, nose, and everything off him. And we were trying to get them evacuated and out of there, and medics running everywhere. And but when I've been over, that's when that metal hit exploded. That round, 155, I think, 155 millimeter round, and it hit me in the top.
Yeah.
And then it came out the side. It did knock me out, and I rolled over on the.
I'll let you show that.
So it actually went in the top, and you can see on the helmet where it deflected it. It just sort of deflected it when it went in this way, and enough to turn it so it didn't go on my head, and it came out here, over here. It was riding high on my head, so it went right above that.
Went through the top of you, just above your head, because it was riding high.
Yeah, because it was riding high. I got some metal shrapnel that went into my skull, and I didn't go to the medics right then. much confusion with the wounded and the killed, that I didn't go to the medic, and finally they said, you need to come down here, we need to check you, and I went down there and sat down on the log, and the medics picked that out of the top of my head. Most of it, the shrapnel that came off the inside of his helmet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Come off that up there when he went in.
Mm-hmm.
So they picked it out and put a little antiseptic on it or whatever and sent me back to duty. But I had a lot of visitors that day, and we also captured, my listening post captured a North Vietnamese heavy weapons company commander, and they were glad we did it because they came, picked him up, and they, being our intelligence people that wanted to interview him, they came and picked him up there from my platoon and carried him, and they said they put him in a helicopter and scared him by threatening to throw him out, and he gave them a lot of good information they needed about that unit that had overrun the other one up there, our sister battalion. So next morning we got up and we went through the jungle and tried to police up the battlefield up there if there was any more casualties and dead enemy up there around, and so we went up there and did that, and then they lifted us out in helicopters, and so that was the end of that. But that was a bad day in Vietnam, because I don't know how many wound up killed. I've got to figure somewhere, probably in that book right there, how many was killed that day up there and how many wounded, but there wasn't many of them left. Wasn't many out of that 400 or 500 men that was left. It was taken in '66.
And how old were you then?
I was 23.
Were all these guys about your age, or older, younger?
Yeah, some of them were. Well, Hicks is quite a bit older, and Muleskinner claimed that he's not on there, but he was in October before I was. He was same age I was, but he was October, December, younger. Well, it was either that day or the next day, because battalion commander jumped all over the company commander because I couldn't shave in my helmet.
Mm-hmm.
So he told the company commander he better get me another helmet out there. So it was either the next day, I think the next morning. Might have been that same day. A lot of people come to see me, Colonel and whatever, that day. Nobody could believe that had happened.
Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't believe I was still walking around. As a matter of fact, they put a copy of that picture. They did the battalion commander a book, of pictures of him, pictures when he was a battalion commander. And my picture's the first one on that book. It's on the outside cover. I wrote the foreword to this book with David Hearn wrote it. He was the artillery lieutenant that called in fires for this battle. He called in air strikes and mostly artillery, though.
What's the name of that book?
June the 17th, 1967, Battle of Zombo 2. Yeah.
There it is.
There's a picture of, they called them Motley Crew. The call sign was Hillbilly. They weren't a platoon you'd want to piss off. My last command, I had commanded the Signal Brigade. It was the 1st Corps Signal Brigade, and there was 4 corps in the whole Army, and we in the Alabama National Guard, and I commanded the largest Signal Brigade in the Army, and it was the only National Guard Signal Brigade. And there were 3 other active duty, and they took 2 Signal Brigades down when they took 2 corps down. 2 took them out of the inventory, and but they left us in
Mm-hmm.
at Fort Lewis, and I had headquarters up there, and the headquarters, you know, at Decatur, and it was the largest signal brigade in the Army, and they put a active duty signal battalion with 800 people in it at Fort Lewis under my flag, and they don't usually do that.
Hmm.
That doesn't happen. This is a picture of the Distinguished Silver Medallion because I was a distinguished member of the Signal Regiment
Mm-hmm.
out at Fort Jackson because I was served as a brigade commander for a signal brigade. This medal right here was presented at the same time. I got my Bronze Star with V, and it is a Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry with Bronze Star.
And that was presented from the Vietnamese?
Yes, it's a Vietnamese general presented that to me. But that's just a Vietnam service medal, and that's a Bronze Star, that's a Purple Heart Army Commendation Medal, the Air Medal, and that's a Vietnam service medal.
Mm-hmm.
I was airborne. There's my diploma for that. And then there's my infantry officer basic corps. This is my corps commander. He's a 3-star general. He was my boss at Fort Lewis. General Crocker. General Hennis was the adjutant general for the state of Alabama. And of course, that's me, a 1-star. But General Hennis, General Crocker, and I were all on the same operation in Vietnam at the same time.
Okay. When did you get your 1-star?
In 95.
You know, you hear a lot about, feel like the Korean War and a lot of the big wars, but you don't hear a lot about Vietnam. People don't talk about it.
See, this story hadn't been told on this,
Mhm.
that battle.
That battle.
That battle is on Bowl 2. It had never been told. And there's about as many got killed and wounded on that as they did any of the big battles that they did.
Yeah.
Right. There's another battle, the 17th of the month, 3 times our battalion got into trouble. On June the 17th and October the 17th. Now I done got back home. Me and Brenda walked in and watched television. They had it on there about Company A, 2nd 28. Had a bunch of folks killed.
Mm-hmm.
More, I think, more than was killed on this one. But they wrote a big book about it.
Yeah.
That bad. Grider, he there. I had to get on him bad. He'd smoke him a little pot every once in a while and go to sleep behind the machine gun. And I called him. He didn't smoke more pot.